Ladies and gentlemen, look at your calendars. Observe the digital clock on your screen. The hour has come and gone. At the precise stroke of 11:59 p.m. Eastern, the collective bargaining agreement that governed the intricate relationship between the WNBA Players Union and the league owners has not merely expired, it has vanished. This wasn't merely a deadline in the sand, a flexible marker for further discourse. It was, by all accounts, a precipice. And as the final second ticked away, we collectively witnessed the WNBA and its players step decisively into the unknown. What remains in the immediate aftermath is not a pathway to amicable resolution, nor a blueprint for a shared future. It is not the sound of compromise, but rather a profound and deafening silence, punctuated by the collision of stark economic realities, and, I must argue, a profound misapprehension of them. This is not simply a negotiation. It is a public spectacle of misunderstanding, a high-stakes drama where the future of an entire sports league hangs perilously in the balance. We are compelled to engage in a deeply uncomfortable, yet absolutely necessary examination of the events that have transpired. The public relations machinery from both sides is now operating at full throttle, attempting to shape narratives. But if we peel back the layers of carefully constructed statements and filter out the emotional appeals, a clearer, more concerning picture begins to materialize. The owners, in a remarkably astute and strategically beneficial maneuver, took a public stance that, to many observers, painted them in a remarkably positive light. They explicitly declared, "We're not going to lock them out." This preemptive declaration served to deflate a potential source of immediate public backlash and position the league as the party committed to continuity despite the expiration. Yet, even with this public assurance designed to assuage fears of a work stoppage, the air remained thick with conjecture. Players, through various channels and pronouncements, continued to insinuate the possibility of a strike, to float suggestions of collective action that would effectively halt the season. This stark divergence in tone and strategic communication immediately highlighted a profound disconnect. The owners extended a perceived olive branch of continuity, while the players' rhetoric, at least in certain quarters, seemed to hint at disruption. Now, the specifics of this contentious negotiation are no longer confined to closed-door sessions. They are openly discussed, debated, and dissected across every media platform. The primary demands from the players are clear: a substantial increase in salary, a rightful aspiration for any professional athlete. But beyond the salary figures, the truly monumental, almost insurmountable hurdle is the demand for revenue sharing. And here, we encounter the bedrock of the owners' resistance. Their fundamental objection stems from a singular, immutable fact. The WNBA, in its entire 28-year history, has never, not once, turned a profit. How, the owners logically counter, can one demand a share of revenue, let alone profit, when the enterprise itself remains in the red? This is not merely a point of contention. It is the central, immovable object against which the players' demands are currently crashing. It is the financial truth that underpins every calculation and every reluctance from the ownership side. And it is precisely this fundamental, almost willful disregard for the financial realities that has contributed to a growing public sentiment. The players, in their collective actions and pronouncements, have regrettably continued to diminish their public standing. Their approach, their escalating rhetoric, and their increasingly visible frustration have, in the eyes of many, caused them to look terrible. The crescendo of this perception reached a new height with the statement released last night by the WNBA Players Association. This document, intended as a declaration of resolve, instead contributed to the perception that the union was, to put it mildly, crashing out. The language, the grievances, the overall tenor, it all contributed to an image of a union that was becoming less and less professional by the moment. This isn't merely an internal observation or a critic's assessment. This is a sentiment that is actively being recognized, internalized, and amplified by the very fans who are meant to be the bedrock of the league's support. The WNBPA statement itself bears closer scrutiny. It opened by lamenting the expiration of the agreement, then swiftly pivoted to casting blame. Despite the players demonstrating our willingness to compromise in order to get a deal done, the statement asserted, the WNBA and its teams have failed to meet us at the table with the same spirit and seriousness. This framing immediately positions the players as the amenable party, the ones seeking common ground, while simultaneously accusing the league of an intransigence that borders on bad faith. The league, it continued, has remained committed to undervaluing player contributions, dismissing player concerns, and running out the clock. These are not minor accusations. They are direct indictments of the league's integrity and its respect for its athletes. The statement then moved to highlight a specific, symbolic act of protest. Today's display of an inflatable rat, a universal symbol of labor protest outside of the NBA store, calls attention to how the league and its teams have handled these negotiations. This visual, a deliberate nod to historical labor disputes, was intended to convey a sense of injustice and solidarity. Yet, its impact, divorced from the full context of a profitable enterprise, may have been lost on a segment of the public. The rhetoric further intensified, accusing the league of delaying and clinging to the status quo, a strategy that is supposedly jeopardizing the livelihoods of players, the trust and investment of fans, all in the name of preserving regressive provisions that no longer belong in women's basketball. Here, in this very phrasing, lies what I believe is the fundamental, almost fatal flaw in the players' current strategy. This negotiation, for a significant portion of the player leadership, has transcended the realm of traditional business and financial discourse. It has become less about business for these people than it is a social statement at this point. This shift, this elevation of the negotiation into a broader platform for social justice and political narratives, has historically been the downfall of this league. It is, in my considered opinion, why the ratings have been trashed and people didn't show up. Because the average spectator, the casual fan, the individual seeking an escape, is drawn to sports for the purity of competition. They declare, often explicitly, "I just want sports. I don't want political narratives. None of that. I don't care about your social revolutions." This distinction is crucial. There exists certainly a vocal and dedicated segment of the WNBA's fan base, the original fan base, those who emerged particularly after the Caitlin Clark boom, who might indeed find resonance with such social revolutions. They are invested in that broader dialogue. But for the vast majority of actual sports fans, this is not only an unwanted distraction, it is an active deterrent. They do not merely not care, they don't want to hear about it. This miscalculation of audience expectation can prove devastating for a league striving for mainstream appeal. The WNBPA statement continued, asserting a deep connection between the players and their supporters. Players care deeply about their fans, take pride in honoring that loyalty every time they take the court. Yet, they simultaneously argue that the league's tactics harm current and future players and marginalize the very people who show up for the game in communities across the country. The language projects defiance, a refusal to yield. This misguided approach will not work in the face of the league and team's actions. Players remain undeterred, unafraid, and unwavering in their commitment to doing what is necessary to secure a transformational new CBA. The specific demands as articulated are ambitious. The new agreement must include a salary system tied to a meaningful share of the revenue that would not exist without player labor, mandate professional working conditions, and require protections that honor players who built the league and set the next generation up for success. The concluding declaration is unequivocal. Make no mistake, pay equity is not an optional, and progress is long overdue. We urge the league and its teams to meet this moment. The players have already and will continue to do so. This is a battle cry, a challenge laid directly at the feet of the ownership. In stark, almost breathtaking contrast, consider the official statement released by the WNBA itself. This document was not a lengthy treatise, not a platform for grievance, but a masterclass in brevity, precision, and strategic focus. It was short, sweet, to the point. It notably lacked all that extra fluff, all the unneeded fluff that permeated the union's release. It simply stated, the current collective bargaining agreement has expired. Negotiations with the Women's National Basketball Players Association remain ongoing. This acknowledges the reality without inflammatory language. Crucially, the league's statement then pivoted to an optimistic, forward-looking vision, recognizing the current moment as a pivotal time of unprecedented popularity and growth, and emphasizing the importance of building upon that momentum. The league's priorities were articulated with clarity and conciseness. High priority is a deal that significantly increases player salaries, enhances the overall player experience, and supports long-term growth of the league for current and future generation of players and fans alike. This, in my estimation, was a statement of bravo. It was concise, professional, and entirely focused on the future health and growth of the league and its athletes, without venturing into social reform or any of that kind of shit that has proven so divisive. The public reaction, as gleaned from the vast and often brutally honest landscape of online commentary, immediately highlighted this chasm in communication strategy. I have personally observed over the course of covering these CBA discussions a dramatic and undeniable shift in public sentiment. Originally, the prevailing attitude was often one of sympathy for the players, a general belief that, oh yeah, the players ought to get paid, blah, blah, blah. But now, if you dare venture into the comment sections, the narrative has fundamentally altered. The prevailing sentiment is no longer one of automatic support for the players. Instead, it has swung so dramatically that people are like team owner at this point. It is truly a testament to the players' recent actions and rhetoric that they have managed to make themselves feel even more insufferable than prior. That such a feat, after years of public debate and perception challenges, is even possible, speaks volumes about the current strategic missteps. The comments themselves serve as a stark reflection of this shift. A lot of people insane statement from the PA. There we go. Right there. Second comment. Insurfable Players Union. Their statements are as nasty and uncouth as their attitude. Another commenter echoed, It's wild. Yeah, I'm team owners. Have been for a while, even more now. The union's statement was frequently dismissed as a bit over the top. Perhaps most damning of all, in its brutal simplicity, was the comment that encapsulated a growing public apathy. This guy, I ain't reading all that. I'm happy for you, though, or I'm sorry that happened. This isn't just disinterest, it's a dismissive shrug that signals a profound failure to engage the very audience whose support is crucial. And then the prophetic declarations that speak to the long-term consequences. The most iconic part of all this is the union will be the #1 reason why the league finally dies. What started as good intent for equal pay has turned into pettiness using the same intent. It's not about money anymore. It's about wanting power, and they can never have that. They can never have. That's a good point. That is a good point. This analysis, suggesting a shift from genuine economic grievance to a pursuit of power, is a chilling indictment. The immediate fear is palpable. This is wild, and it sadly looks like no season. The potential for significant, irreparable damage to the league's newfound momentum is not lost on the public. No one cares. Goodbye, Caitlin Clark, 2026 season. The very name that has driven this recent surge in popularity is now invoked in a context of potential loss and abandonment. And in one of the most vitriolic yet widely echoed critiques, players were taken to task for their perceived sense of entitlement. They're literally comparing playing basketball to manual labor as if that's the same thing. Sorry, bees, I didn't know it was this hard to hoop. Do us real hoops fans a favor and cancel the whole effing league. You bees make well enough money to survive. This is the raw, unfiltered anger of a segment of the public who feels that their support is being taken for granted, or worse, that their intelligence is being insulted by perceived exaggerations of hardship. The conclusion from observing these shifting tides is clear. Boy, I gotta tell you, people are, yeah. And the unfortunate reality for the players is that just when you thought the players couldn't lose more people, congratulations, you've done it. You're losing more people in your fight. This loss of public goodwill, this alienation of potential fans, is a catastrophic misstep in any negotiation, but especially for a league still fighting for broader recognition and sustained profitability. The fundamental error, in my considered opinion, lies in the leadership and the strategic choices made by the players' representatives. They got the wrong people involved in these negotiations. The individual who should perhaps be leading this charge, the voice of reason and pragmatism, is Caitlin Clark. Her understanding of the delicate balance required to nurture and grow a nascent yet burgeoning sports league is apparent. I will reiterate a statement I made when the initial discussion surfaced about players seeking more money and a departure from the existing CBA. You're doing this 2 years too soon. The timing of these demands is, in a business context, profoundly ill-conceived. The logical, strategic approach would have been to wait till the new media rights deal actually starts. To patiently wait till that media rights money starts getting into owners' pockets, to allow the league to finally demonstrate profitability. Only then, once the owners could objectively assess where the league is and how much profit they're finally making, would a position of strength truly materialize. For nearly 3 decades, 29 years or whatever it is, the owners have, in essence, propped up this league, often operating at a loss. They haven't experienced that profit yet. Because the league is operating largely on projections of future revenue rather than realized tangible profit, the owners are understandably hesitant to give you the farm. And in this particular instance, I don't blame them. After so many years of financial support, of carrying the burden, it appears that the owners have finally drawn the line, delivering an implicit ultimatum. We're either going to make money or this league's going to shut down, one of the two. This is the stark reality of sustained investment without commensurate return. It is entirely plausible that with 2 or 3 more years of patience, of allowing the new media deals to mature and generate actual revenue, the players could have commanded a significantly higher salary package. From a pure salary standpoint, they might have been able to ask for more money than they're getting now. However, the critical point of contention, the seemingly non-negotiable demand for a 30% revenue share or any some like off of gross revenue, remains utterly baffling. To demand a share of gross revenue, money before expenses, before operating costs, before the league even hopes to break even from an entity that has never turned a profit is a fundamental misunderstanding of business economics. No, they're not getting that in 3. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking. I really don't. This insistence on a demand that is not just ambitious, but economically unsustainable for a non-profitable venture highlights a profound disconnect from the realities of the business. The current situation is not just contentious, it is perilous. The deadline has passed, the rhetoric is escalating, and the public, once largely sympathetic, is increasingly alienated. The future of the WNBA now stands at a critical juncture, poised between the immense potential offered by its surging popularity and the very real threat of self-inflicted wounds. The choices made in the coming days and weeks will not merely shape the next collective bargaining agreement, they will, in all likelihood, determine the very longevity and viability of the league itself. It is a moment that demands not just passion, but profound wisdom, a quality that, at this stage, seems to be in short supply from one side of the negotiating table. Tell me what you think. Do the players, in their current approach, understand the long-term consequences of their demands, or are they steering this entire enterprise towards an avoidable cliff? Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, because this story isn't just ongoing, it's intensifying, and the outcome remains deeply uncertain. Peace.